Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be a dungeon guide for the Magic Keep, so let's get into it. Alrighty, this has been a very widely requested guide because the Magic Keep is going to be the affinity of your starting champion, which is usually the champion that you kind of main first and develop into 6 stars first. Not always, but usually. And also, Magic Affinity is very common in the game. It just seems when playing that most champions are Magic Affinity. It seems that Force and Spirit and Void are all a little bit more rare to come by than Magic. So it can be very important to farm this dungeon sporadically and kind of keep some Magic Ascendancy potions available. So first, let's kind of pull up the dungeon screen here. And the Magic Keep is similar to Spirit and Force in that it kind of goes on a 6-day rotation. So every week, you know, the Spirit Keep is open 2 days, the Magic Keep is open 2 days, the Force Keep is open 2 days, and then Sunday is for the Void Keep. So that's kind of the 7-day rotation that these 4 Ascendancy Potion dungeons go on. So right now, we'll dive into the Magic Keep, and I'll be showing you the last level here, and kind of, first I'll just kind of go over a battle and go over the boss mechanics. And then I'll kind of show how to build a team, and then I'll probably show another run like on full auto or something. So yeah, we're going to be going over just a couple stages of these, you know, trash mobs that you're going to want at least 1 or 2 characters that have AoE probably, so that you can get through these stages semi-quickly. And if you can get to the boss in a decent amount of time, you know, anything under, you know, like a minute is okay. And then if we pause and go over the boss here. So, Defense Up places a shield buff on this champion for 3 turns at the start of the battle. The value of the shield is equal to this champion's max HP. So, it's basically going to double the hit points of the magic boss right at the start of the battle. That's a passive ability. You can't alter that in any way. Another passive is Leyline. Damage inflicted by each skill increases by 25% for each buff on this champion. And then Magic Shield places a shield buff on this champion for 3 turns, places a 50% increased attack buff, a 30% increased speed buff, and a 60% increased defense buff on this champion for 3 turns. The value of this shield is proportional to this champion's max HP. So this means that you can alter this one, because if you bring champions that lower max HP, as the battle goes on, and as she does this more and more, she's going to have less max HP, and you can slowly dwindle that down. If you want to go like a sustained route, you could go, you know, the route of lowering max HP. And then Mo, this is going to be her AoE attack that hits everybody and has a 20% chance of decreasing the turn meter by 50%. So that's a pretty powerful ability for a boss to have. So just kind of going over these abilities in general, it is very important to bring someone who can remove buffs. Ideally, someone who can remove all buffs. Now, when I was a new player, I made the mistake of thinking I needed to steal the buff. You don't have to steal the buff. There's champions like the rare Mythic Hand or Mystic Hand. It's one of those two. But he actually steals buffs. He's a rare that steals buffs. So I thought I had to have someone like that. That's not necessary. I mean, it's great. You can actually steal the shield, and it's pretty hilarious when one of your champions steals the shield, because like their whole bar is just this massive shield, and they're basically invulnerable. So it is funny when they steal the buff, but you don't have to steal it. You can actually just remove buffs, and that will accomplish the same thing. But yeah, she is much stronger the more buffs she has, so very important to get the minions down as fast as possible and then work on removing buffs. If you play at like a really low level, you can just blow through the shield, but once you get to the last level, you're really going to want to remove buffs. And for my party here, my Prince Kymar has an ability where he removes all buffs. He'll probably do that next turn, and so, you know, when he does that, he'll take away all of those blue buffs that you see top left, and her shield. You can see he just did it. So now, when this happens, let me go over this. When this happens, right now is when she's vulnerable. She has no buffs. She has no shield. My Prince Kymar removed it. That's my character that I bring who specializes in removing buffs. Now, we're on a ticking clock. Okay, this is on a 2-turn cooldown right now. That's this little 2 right here. When this goes to 1, her next turn, she's going to cast that shield again. So you really want to be able to burst her down before she's able to do this again. So we can see right now it's just a DPS race. We're trying to get her down before, you see now it's 1. So her next turn, that 1 will go away and she'll cast that shield if I'm not able to do enough damage here. And there it is. So there is, and you know, there is, it says 404, but I spent a lot of time paused. If you look at the top left at the time, there is kind of how you can do the last level of the Magic Keep in about a minute 10, minute 15, somewhere like that. That run would have probably been. So now, let's go out here and I'll kind of go over my team that I was using there. Okay, where is Prince Kymar? So this is who I bring to remove her shield, which is this ability right here. This is an extremely good ability, and if you don't have Prince Kymar, it's okay. There's other heroes that remove buffs, but he is really good at this because he attacks all enemies, removes all buffs, places a sleep debuff for 1 turn. That's actually not going to work on the boss, so mainly just bringing him for his remove all buffs on a 3-turn cooldown. It's a very good ability, but if you don't have Prince Kymar, you know, most of you aren't going to. I got lucky and pulled him. He's actually the only good legendary I have. You can bring somebody like Luria. She's got this ability here. Where is it at? Okay. You know, attack 1 enemy, remove all buffs. So there's other characters that have it. You can even go down to like Mystic Hand. He's got an ability here, Turn the Tide, where he attacks 1 enemy and steals 2 random buffs from the target. So he's someone that you can bring. He's also Force Affinity, so he counters the Magic Affinity dungeon. And, you know, you can even go the route of just ignoring the shield altogether. You can bring champions that do damage where they ignore shield. And then you can just kind of play a more defensive sustain style. Because if we look at someone like Skink, we can see here that his A1 will ignore block damage and shield buffs. So he will just attack her HP. And the magic boss actually doesn't heal. So any damage that you do to her besides her shield, you can play a kind of a slow defensive sustain style and just do, you know, bring a party where you ignore shield and you'll be able to get her down that way. But I have found the most optimal route kind of towards the end game when you're speed farming is to remove the shield and burst her down. You know, maybe if I got better champions that ignore shield or something, I could look at the other style of play. But I think the better route is to just remove her shield and burst her down that way. So the party that I brought was, you know, Lord Champfort. I use him as my leader in a lot of dungeons because of his increased ally HP. And then his ability to decrease attack. So, you know, those two things synergize to be very good in dungeons, and also decreased accuracy is good against, you know, a lot of bosses in dungeons as well. So Champfort is a great champion to kind of have as a leader of a dungeon party, so I just went with that. And then I also had Kymar, like I said, to remove the buffs from the magic boss, and then he also does a pretty good amount of damage to help burst her down. And then, you know, after I've got my sustain and my removing buffs taken care of, now we're just, you know, going for some people who apply debuffs and do a lot of damage. So Kale is one of my nukers. I have a full champion guide on Kale. He does a lot of damage for me, so I bring him. And then Bellower is somebody that I invested very heavily in because he is my campaign farmer, so I bring him because he does a lot of damage. And then I have Apothecary for the clutch heals and the speed boost, and he's just kind of a generally awesome support for dungeons. So that's kind of the party that I run for my farming the last level of the Magic Keep and kind of the reasoning behind it. And now I'll just do kind of one more run on full auto so that you can just kind of see what it looks like without me pausing or anything. And you can see the party there is now I could possibly go with like Spider or somebody like that as my leader just to crank out more speed, and he also removes buffs and stuff. So I'm theory crafting around trying that, but I already have Lord Champfort so invested in that I just kind of threw him in here, and it works pretty well. I'm able to farm the last level in usually like a minute to a minute 30, somewhere in there. It depends on the RNG of removing all the buffs and stuff and kind of how the cooldowns line up, but usually a minute to a minute and 30, so I haven't felt the need to really change it or switch out Lord Champ for another character who brings like speed and buff stealing. Alright, so now we'll see that she'll start the battle with her shield. That's her passive ability. And now we are tasked with trying to remove buffs from her. And also very important to get the minions down. So now she's in her phase where she has all of her buffs and her shield. And there's Kymar. Boom, he removes everything. We can see that now we are on this ticking clock. This number up here, this 3, this is going to be a good run. We've got plenty of time. There's no way she's going to make it those 3 turns. She's going to get bursted down, and there's no way she's going to be alive. So the cooldown for Kymar kind of lined it up to help this run go pretty well, so it should be smooth and be like a minute 12 or something. All right, there, we actually went a little bit faster, a minute 07. So yeah, that kind of is how you can perform well on the last stage of the Magic Keep. And don't feel bad if you don't have like a good legendary that removes buffs or something. You know, just do what you can, and you can even play a sustained, you know, defensive style where you decrease max HP and ignore shield buffs. So the Magic Keep can seem kind of overwhelming, and it can seem like one of the more advanced dungeons, but once you kind of learn, okay, I need to either lower max HP or ignore shield buff or remove buffs or steal buffs, if you need to work around, you know, some sort of variation of those 4 mechanics, and then it'll be a lot easier for you, and you'll be able to farm it pretty well. So yeah, hopefully this helped. If you have any questions, drop it down in the comments, and I'll do my best to help you out. So as always, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.